really inspired the concrete was in the piece that's over here. You can check that out later. But it was inspired by Kendrick Lamar's song called All Right. And I remember at the time I was working at UPS part-time. And, as an artist, I always was really focused on having a career in the arts. But, whether I had a full-time job here and there, a part-time job, whatever, it was everything to support my art. I had this job at UPS. I'm grateful for the job, but it was just a horrible couple of years because I had to be there at like 4 a.m. and I'm doing this labor and I'm like, why is this happening to me? I just want to be in a position to create. And I was sitting in the car and I think I watched the video. I did. I watched the video of All Right. And if you go back and watch that video and listen to the lyrics, they were so powerful and it just resonated with me. And I said, I want that. It was gritty, it's grimy, it's black and white. And I just remember they had the cars and they were like spinning out on the concrete. And it just like, I just remember, even when I hear it, that song to this day, like it gives me chills. Mm-hmm. And it did something, it lit something in me. And I said, I want to do that. How can I create something that looks kind of like asphalt and grimy and gritty? Because that's how I was feeling.
Hey, it's Mamadou with Timbuktu, and I'm here to bring to you this interview with Rebecca Robinson. So before we get into it, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share out with all your loved ones. Now, during the All-Star Weekend in Indianapolis, had a great time with Rebecca, and we went back to her studio to have an interview about her artistic journey. So definitely stay tuned in and check out this interview. So, really excited to be out here in Indianapolis with our esteemed guests for our interview series of different artists, culture curators, and whatnot. So, can you please tell the people who you are and a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Rebecca Robinson. I am a mixed media artist, and I like to say I've been a creative all my life. But I've been a professional artist probably for the last 20 years. When I first started thinking about art as a career, I was more into the fashion side. Mm-hmm. I did that for years, probably a good decade. And, it took its toll on me and the competition, not having the proper capital or support. And I don't know, in my mind, I just thought it was going to be simple just because I had something beautiful and I had a good product, and it just wasn't enough. And I got pretty burnt out with that because I knew I had something really special, mm-hmm. and I wanted to preserve that. So I say about 10, 12 years ago, I wanted to put that on the shelf. I didn't want to give it up. I just felt it was time to pivot, and I wanted people to really recognize my artistry and not pinhole me into the lady who makes handbags, because that's what happened. People just said, oh, she's the one who makes purses, these, hand-painted handbags. And so I just started painting, and then I started getting a lot of respect as just a fine artist. And interesting enough, now people are circling back like, oh, are you ever going to come out with those handbags again? And it's just a really touchy subject for me. It's very sensitive. And I think one day the handbags will see the light of day one day. But right now, I'm like full speed ahead with my fine art. And I haven't looked back.
Great. So, you mentioned being like a creative all your life, like, and these different talents from like the fashion to the arts. Can you tell us about when did you realize that you fell in love with art?
Let's see. I believe I fell in love with art as young as maybe 3 or 4 years old. Mm-hmm. I went to Montessori school, so I went there from the age of 3 to maybe 12. And that's a really significant time span,
Right.
Montessori school was great. The school I went to was called Children's House, and it was about 50, 55 kids. It was literally in a house. It was like a mansion style house. Every room was a classroom. And we had to take mandatory classes such as ballet, and we had to take music, and we had to take language. Back then, the second language was French. So I was learning all these things early. Latin. We were dissecting fetal pigs. We took sex education at the age of 5 and 6 years old.
Wow.
I remember every morning we had these books, and we called them contracts. And so when you came in the morning, you wrote down, and we were little kids, but it taught us, accountability, responsibility, and we had to write down what we wanted to do for the day. So it could say reading, math, science, outside, art, whatever. And as you finish your task, the teacher would check it, that kind of thing. But it taught us at an early age to just be accountable and responsible, and to finish what you start. And that was really important. And I'm still like that to this day. Very organized, very consistent, and I appreciate that. And Children's House really molded me into, I guess, fostering my personality, because I've always been a free spirit. I've always been really approachable, and the friendships, even back then, it was all types of kids, from different backgrounds and ethnicities, and, we all played together, and we had a beautiful family just within, the school. So I would say it started as early as Children's House, that I knew I was extremely creative, and my parents knew that I was very gifted, and I appreciate that they recognized that really, really early.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a very unique experience, right? Being in not just any educational institution, but a Montessori school where I'm assuming it's all girls, right?
No, Montessori.
Oh, Montessori. Okay.
Yep. So Montessori is just a type of learning that's non-traditional. There isn't a grade system. It's not your traditional type of education. Montessori really fosters individuality, your style of learning. Every child, even to this day, everyone learns differently. Everyone retains information differently. Everyone is, unique in how they retain information and education. So Montessori understands, and they get to know that child. Some children need one-on-one interaction. Some children work better as a group or a team. Some children, maybe they're a little shy or an introvert, and they thrive a little bit more doing A, B, and C. So Montessori really just tries to hone in on bringing out the best in, in a child, in their personality, so they can thrive and be confident in whatever direction they decide to go, as far as career, or how you choose friends, how you interact with other people. And I still use those same philosophies to this day. I know sometimes I like to think I'm like an anomaly, because sometimes people meet me and they're just kind of baffled at my personality, and I just owe it a lot to my parents and the upbringing I had and the type of early education that I got from the Children's House. And I owe that a lot to Mrs. Brandon. She was an amazing educator, and she cared about all of us. And I miss her. She passed maybe, I want to say almost 10 years ago. And I remember going to her memorial. It was really bittersweet, because I got to see a lot of the kids that I grew up with that understood how special she was for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a very unique upbringing, and one that seems like it really fostered your creativity. So it just always speaks to the investments that you make early on as children, and how it really molds you as an adult. Yeah. So switching gears a bit, because you talked about, all right, you had this upbringing from childhood that really fostered creativity, and then you did you was doing fashion, then you pivoted into fine arts.
Mm-hmm.
So not only did you pivot into fine arts, but you specifically use like very unique textures such as like concrete and tar. Like, can you tell us a little bit about like what inspired you to like approach making fine art or visual art in that manner?
Yeah, so like I said, I did this huge pivot, and when I was doing the handbags, a lot of my purses were very bright colors, light subject, they were fun and vibrant, and they did represent me. But I went through some life changes that truly impacted me and how I wanted to create artwork. And through those hardships, I personally, I guess wholeheartedly, I just didn't want to use color anymore. I was not feeling colorful. I was just going through a hard time. And I do remember saying to myself, like, wow, people see me in one way, but that doesn't really represent, like, what I'm creating is not really representing how I feel. And I said, I have something serious to say. I have something passionate, that I want to convey in my art. And I literally went to like a Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever, and I just took the cart. I just kind of walked around. I was like, oh, let me grab this, or let me grab that, or whatever. And what really inspired the concrete was, and the piece is over here. You can check that out later. But it was inspired by Kendrick Lamar's song called All Right. And I remember at the time I was working at UPS part-time. And, as an artist, I always was really focused on having a career in the arts. But, whether I had a full-time job here and there, a part-time job, whatever, it was everything to support my art. I had this job at UPS. I'm grateful for the job, but it was just a horrible couple of years because I had to be there at like 4 a.m. and I'm doing this labor, and I'm like, why is this happening to me? I just want to be in a position to create. And I was sitting in the car, and I think I watched the video. I watched the video of All Right. And if you go back and watch that video and listen to the lyrics, they were so powerful, and it just resonated with me. And I said, I want that. It was gritty, it's grimy, it's black and white. And I just remember they had the cars, and they were like spinning out on the concrete. And it just like, I just remember, even when I hear it, that song to this day, like, it gives me chills. Mm-hmm. And it did something, it lit something in me. And I said, I want to do that. How can I create something that looks kind of like asphalt and grimy and gritty? Because that's how I was feeling. And I went to the store, and I just went and started buying all these things that I thought aligned with what I saw in that visual. And I bought the cement, bought the tar, I bought a caulk gun, I bought some panels of wood, and I bought some white latex paint. And I still have the very first painting I ever did when I was experimenting. I didn't know how it was going to turn out. I just said, I'll give it a shot. So that was as early as 2015. Mm-hmm. And what are we in 2024? And I can say I have mastered working with that medium. The first time I went public with it, I did a show. I think it was maybe 2015, 2016. And people had never seen anything like it. I had never seen anything like it. But I felt like I was onto something. And I wanted a niche for myself. I think a lot of artists aspire to separate themselves from everyone else. There's a lot of talent in this world. There's a lot of gifted people. There's a lot of people who can draw and paint and sculpt. But what makes you different? What makes it where you can walk into a room and someone says, oh, that's Robinson's work? And I guarantee it, to this day, if anyone walks in a gallery space or sees my work, they know it's mine. And I want people to remember that. And they do. And, if I'm doing a show or something and people are next to me, I allow them to engage with it. I allow them to touch it. And, even to this day, anyone who interacts with my work, they say they feel an emotional connection to it or something, resonates within them, or an emotional type of feeling. And that's what I wanted to achieve. And more people started paying attention to me as an artist when I started using the concrete, way before the purses. I think maybe the purses was just something superficial for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I had something bigger, more important to say. And the concrete, I believe, does that for me. It really does.
Yeah. And there's really something to be said about not only finding your niche within the art world, but like really finding your voice and like your style, because it then becomes really like a manifestation of you and your essence and your personality, and that really comes out about it, right? Because it goes back to what you were saying about like having that emotional connection, where I even saw it today when we was at the Butterfly Art Show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a woman that you probably just met for the first time was like, yo, like this is really speaking to me on an emotional level. Those were her exact words. So
wow,
I can definitely attest to that, like seeing it firsthand.
Yeah, and I want people, when someone is looking at my work, I introduce myself and I always say, this is my piece. But I don't go right into explaining what it is, what inspired me to do it, and what I was feeling or what kind of music I was listening. I let them engage with it, and whatever questions they ask me, I'll answer. But I also stand at a distance sometimes. And I guarantee it, every time someone's in front of the work, I can see it. I can see it in their spirit. I can see it in the energy. And something is pulling them towards it or connecting to it. Because I'm pretty sure they've never seen anything like it.
Right.
And like I said, I know a lot of brilliant artists. But I can't deny that people do find a connection with my work. And then when they meet me, I think that really seals the deal, because sometimes when you see my work, you don't think it's me that did it, because I'm such a light and vibrant, welcoming type of person. And then you see the work, you're like, is it dark? Is she feeling, you know what I mean? Is it just something really melancholy and sad or anything like that? No, it's just a different form of expression. And for whatever reason, I enjoy it. I worked with oils and acrylics and pastels and watercolor, and I got so bored.
Right.
I really did. And the cement, I've just taken it even to a new level. I worked with the black and white. Then there was a year where I was experimenting with just creating distressed brick, adding color to it, like the red, to give it that red brick. And I wanted it to almost look like if you were walking down a city sidewalk and there was this beautiful distressed building. And it's something so beautiful about that. If you really look at the beauty of brick and if it's aged and there's soot and things like that. And I wanted to create that experience of something more like organic, I guess I could say.
Cool. So I do want to shift gears just slightly, because we speaking about how through your artistry we're capturing emotions, we're telling stories, we're being able to really communicate on a different form of level, right? And so one thing I want to ask about is just your involvement here within like Indianapolis, right? Because you're a part of like many different groups, but I want to start with the 18 and just give a little backstory for the viewers. In 2020, unfortunately, we as a nation witnessed the murder of George Floyd, and that really sparked and galvanized the people nationwide to like really take action. And you and 17 other amazing artists really like came together in order to take action and to use artistry to tell a story. So can you give us a little bit of detail about like a little bit more about that context, like what led up to it, and like what were you and the other 17 or the 18 all together were able to accomplish?
Sure. So in the summer of 2020, Let's see, I think it was, I want to say it was June or July, and I was commissioned through the Arts Council. And keep in mind, George Floyd had passed, and the city, or all over the country, was, protests going on. I mean, buildings were, we know what happened. Windows were being broken and vandalism, and it was just chaos. So Indianapolis was caught in the thick of it as well, and the Arts Council, stepped up and said, hey, and I think this was during the time when they were boarding up everything, and they said, well, how can we still provide some type of message that supports the protests? And they did an artist call for murals for racial justice. And so I initially did a mural at Union Station here, and I think they chose maybe 24 artists to do the murals for racial justice. So they were throughout the city. And the piece that I decided to do, and it was a very quick turnaround. I think we had maybe a week or two to figure out what we were going to do and what statement we wanted to make. So I ended up doing a piece, and I titled it New Nation. And it was a human being kneeled with a flag. It was all black flag. And it was just representing like a new nation. What would that look like? Unity and solidarity and protesting with purpose. And the piece, that was my first, the piece was about 20 feet by something. It was large, but it was out of the concrete and tar. So this was my first time going from, your average canvas to doing this large mural. And I wanted people to see the medium and the message. So I did that. And then maybe, I think it was late in July, there was an artist call to do a Black Lives Matter mural. Now, other cities were already doing it. I think DC, I think Philly, New York. They had groups of artists and, on their city block do these Black Lives Matter murals. And so there was a call. It was just like a general flyer online, and it was like a call to artists who may be interested in doing the mural. I applied, and keep in mind, there was some, kickback with that, because some people were a little nervous about doing it because they didn't want to get, blackballed or, feel like they were participating in something that may cause some type of harm down the line with their relationships, business, your art colleagues, whatever it was. And I was going back and forth about it because I said, wow, I've come really far. I just don't want to burn any bridges. I didn't want to do anything wrong. And then I thought about it, and I was like, it's not just about the mural. It's about the message and however I feel about this time in history. And I said, this is really important. And what was great about it, if you notice, a lot of the murals were the Black Lives Matter letters, and some were solid, some were maybe different colors. And Indianapolis, we specifically were told each artist could put whatever they wanted in their letter. So the organizers, which is now, Molly and Alan and a few other entities that came together to make this happen. I think it was Indy 10, and there was a few other people who made that possible. They said, go for it. Whatever your message is, put it in the letter. And I got the email saying that I was selected. I think I remember the email. They were like, well, what letter do you want? And I said, the letter R, I guess, for Rebecca. And then they're like, oh, sorry. That one's taken. Do you mind doing the L? And I was like, I don't care. I'll do whatever letter. I just wanted to be a part of history. So we did a lot of Zooms. We did a lot of meetings. The protocol for that day. And it was very tense. They ended up, blocking that street off. We had security. We had a certain time frame that we had to do it. We only had 2 days, a Saturday and Sunday, to do the entire mural. They gave us a check-in time. We had to bring, they had supplies there for us, paint, brushes, volunteers, food, people donated. It was beautiful. I mean, that morning that I went, and I've done other interviews about this, but the morning that I went to paint, I ended up taking a fall, and I broke my hand. And I didn't know it was broken until the next day, but the entire time that you see me painting, I have like this little arm thing on, and my hand was just bothering me, but I was just so adamant about finishing it and doing it. And I just remember like the whole time I'm like, oh my God, my hand. So we finished the first day. I think it rained a little bit off and on, and so we had Sunday, so the sun came out, people came back out, touched it up, we're doing pictures, we got people walking around. It's just like this huge event. We took pictures, we did a group picture, and we're all standing there like this, and it was a beautiful moment. And I want to say maybe not even 3, 4, 5 days, let's just say it was maybe less than a week. Next thing you know, someone takes buckets of paint and defaces the mural. And that was gut-wrenching for all of us, because we were all there, the vibe, the energy, the positivity.
Right.
And someone came along and
defaced it.
Yeah. And I actually was one of the first to go down to the mural in person to see it. And matter of fact, I want to say it was one of the national news that used my live. It might still be on Google if you Google it. They used my live to include in the coverage, because I went down there like around like 7 or 8 a.m. and I was walking past each letter, and to see the paint splattered on there, I mean, I just cried, because I said, oh my God, like, this is why we did it. This proved our point. You know, and so we did something so beautiful, and we did something in unity, and someone had to come and do that, and it hurt me. It really did. It hurt all of us, you know. So we had some meetings, and this is way before we even thought about becoming like this collective or anything. It was just 18 people that was like, oh wow, like, what do we do now? So we had conversations about repainting it, fixing it. Do we leave it? And we all agreed, let's leave it. We're going to show the world what they did to our mural. And I believe the person who defaced it thought that that was going to discourage us or make us feel like, you know, we have been defeated. They actually did us a favor, to be honest. Mm-hmm. They really did, because next thing you know, we made national news.
Right.
And the eyes were on us, because I think the community and even other artists, or just in general, Indianapolis, were concerned, and they felt really bad, you know, about it, and everyone came together to support us. So yeah, and you know, within, I say, the first few weeks, the mural's been defaced. And next thing you know, we're getting asked to speak or to do interviews, or who are these 18 people? Who are these 18 artists? And it changed our lives. I mean, we haven't stopped. I was just talking to actually one of the 18 members today, and we were off in the corner, and we were just kind of reflecting about this journey that we all have been on, and we all have been on an emotional journey. And I will tell you, the 18 of us have not stopped working since 2020.
Yeah.
And I'm tired. We're all tired. We're all exhausted. I mean, because people wanted so much from us, and we're all grateful, you know, but we haven't had a chance to rest. No one. I think that, you know, you have to think about mental health too, because the expectations, and you know, everyone had a different I guess goal in mind as far as a career in the arts. Like, some people, maybe they wanted to be full-time artists, some people still had their regular job and families. Everyone's direction was different, but at the end of the day, it was just like the 18 mm-hmm. We need you here, we want to do this. We have literally been nonstop since 2020.
Wow.
And it did push people to hone their craft, make good, relationships, and learn how this business works. I've been doing this a long time, so I felt like I played a role as a mentor to a lot of the people in the 18 and other people that had been doing it, they were mentors too. And there were some people who just hadn't been in this realm and didn't understand, and they've grown so much as artists and we all have had opportunities that I don't know if we ever would have had if we didn't do that mural. But we didn't want that to just overshadow our individual talent, because everyone was talking about the Black Lives Matter. And if you notice, we're in 2024, no one's really talking about that anymore. But what were we going to do? Beat a dead horse? And keep saying Black Lives Matter? That's never going to change. It's never going to change. But we wanted to also show that was a project that we did in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. But we also had our individual creativity that needed to be recognized as well. So,
yeah. So first of all, kudos to you and the other members of the 18 who were really on the front lines, right, of using art to tell a message of great importance of, hey, like Black Lives Matter is just not a statement. Mm-hmm. This is a stance for human rights for an entire group of people.
Absolutely.
And so being a part of the work here in the ground on Indy and fighting the good fight, like that's something that we shouldn't look lightly on, right? It's a lot of work, right?
Yes.
And it really segues into the next topic, which is your involvement within Indy's art community in general, right? So just to read out a few of your accolades,
it's gonna take a long.
That's why we're just gonna do a few,
just a few.
Like in addition to the 18, you've been a part of groups such as the Indianapolis Black Documentary Film Festival Advisory Committee, the Arts Center of Indianapolis Board of Directors, work with the Indianapolis Cabaret Board of Directors, like so many groups that not just like visual arts, but like the full spectrum of arts and culture, from like film to like museum and education. Like, can you talk to us about what really spurred you to not just be an artist and a creator within Indy's ecosystem, but to really be in a position of like leadership when you're helping to guide like overall direction within this city's ecosystem?
I felt like being a part of these different organizations allowed me more room and flexibility to have, and not to be cliche, but to have a seat at the table. And if you are a part of these conversations, as an artist, because if you think about it, there's a lot of, organizations thrive on a board or a committee. And 9 times out of 10, there may not be a working artist on that board. And I thought that was really important, because it's like, how do you have a group of people talking about what's going on in the arts and culture? And you're like, how do you not have a person that's in the art and culture on the board? And I thought that was great for me, because then I could hear what was going on the inside, but I also could give them a peek into the reality of working artists and the perspective and how we need to be supported, how we need to, fair pay, and for artists to understand business and contracts and intellectual property and protecting their work and not getting exploited. It's okay to find legal advice. It's okay to say no. It's okay to double back and say, I'm going to have to ask for a little bit more, to be able to do this. Being paid for your time and labor and supplies and paying yourself. And I understand as an artist, when you're first starting out, you grab anything because you're just grateful. But then there comes a time when you have to stop that. You do. You have to be able to say, look, I've done all this preliminary stuff to kind of show that I'm willing and able and committed, and my work ethic, and that's great. And then it gets to a point like you still got bills to pay, you still want to be able to make a living. And that was really important to me, because when I was growing up and going into the arts, it was always like, oh, that's a hobby, that's not a real job. Well, it's interesting, it's not a real job, but you know how many emails I get a day? You know how many inboxes I get where somebody's like, hey, I need your advice, I need you to consult me on something, or I need you to do a mural, or I need you to do a commission, or I need you to do a portrait, or I need your advice on A, B, and C, and D. It's the arts. So you think you're going to just talk to me about something and then run off after just because I do something that's a hobby. That's not going to happen anymore. I don't let that happen anymore. Any advice that I give in the last, I say 4 or 5 years, you're going to pay for my time. Mm-hmm. Because I have the knowledge, I have the experience, and I'm not going to lead you wrong. If it's not a good match for me, I'll pass you to someone else. Someone may come to me and say, hey, I want a portrait of da-da-da. Okay, that's not my thing. So I'm going to call so-and-so because I've built this network and I know, hey, so-and-so's good at this. Okay, Rebecca's good at this. I can do it. Or maybe someone else is good at it. And that's what you do to keep this kind of going for all of us. So being on these organizations, boards and committees was a game changer because right. I had my... I was on the street and I understood what was really happening organically with artists, and I was able to sit at the table. And that's another thing. There's some people and some artists that are a little intimidated when you go into a boardroom. Maybe you're not able to express what's really happening. Maybe you feel intimidated because everybody has on a suit and tie and they're having these conversations about budget and finance and fiscal year, and you're like, what? I just want to be an artist and I just want to understand. So I feel like I have this nature about me where I can sit in any room and be able to be just as authentic and kind and honest, but transparent too, without offending, without making anyone feel like it's inappropriate. And it's worked for me. And every person that I've met on any board, we end up having a really good relationship. They either email me and call me and say, hey, Rebecca, we would love to da-da-da-da, or include you in this and that. And I think that's really, really valuable. It is.
Great. Yeah, just a few more questions before we wrap up. But, as we talk about, your involvement within Indy's art ecosystem, we'll be remiss if we didn't mention in this interview that this weekend's a very special weekend for the city, right? Mm-hmm. Not only has the NBA chosen Indianapolis for the All-Star Weekend, yeah, we also have seen probably one of the largest Black art fairs ever with the Butter Fine Art Show, and you have been a part of that art show as well, right?
I have, yeah.
And 3 of your works have been featured: The Hoodie and All of Us, Introspect, and Simply Beautiful.
Yes.
So can you just tell us about kind of what led up to this moment? What does being a part of the Butter Art Show really mean for you when it comes to your career and just the city as a whole?
Mm-hmm. Butter launched its first fair in, I want to say it was 2021. And it was really just kind of a test run. Who knew how it was going to turn out? You know what I mean? It was the first year, and to see how it has grown. But I think we all aspired to be in Butter because Gang, who created Butter, they have really led this movement, as far as the arts and culture here and uplifting creative people and Black artists. And so the first year that I did it, I was so honored, and it was nice because we did the mural, but it was kind of giving us a chance to shine outside of the tension behind the mural and the protests, and everybody was really that was really tough for everyone during 2020. We went through COVID and the protests, and if you think about it, that was going on all at the same time. So Butter gave a little bit of sunshine to something that was really heartbreaking for not just Indianapolis, but this entire country, the entire world, And so I was really proud to be a part of that. And then, not only with Butter, we formed this connection with the Indianapolis Museum of Art, which is now known as Newfields. And Newfields had reached out to the A team to still preserve the story behind the mural and to highlight us as individual artists. And that was monumental. That was historic. To be in one of the most recognized museums in the country. And I won't even get into the politics of what's going on with that, but it can never take away that, 18 Black living artists showcased in that museum. And that was history. So that show was for a year. We had our work in Newfields. And I think it was bittersweet for all of us when that show came down, because it's like, where do we go from here, And Butter has allowed this dialogue and this conversation and this exposure to continue. And I'm grateful, that they are allowing that. So I did Butter in 2021. And so this is my second time in Butter for All-Star Weekend here in Indianapolis. And Indy, I will say, let's see, I was born and raised here. And I left in 93. And I've said this before, that I never want to come back to Indianapolis because it just, most people in the Midwest or even, specifically here in Indianapolis, the way I personally felt like I needed to be somewhere else to thrive as an artist. And I went to Atlanta, I've lived in Philly, I have friends in DC and New York. Any place but here, I felt would launch my career. And I did all those things. And then in 2012, I came back to Indianapolis. I was really anxious and nervous about it because I was like, oh my God, it's like pushing reset. There wasn't a lot of culture and options here, at least for people of color. We have rich history here in Indianapolis. And so there was like, a small, niche and clique, that people who appreciated like the Indiana Avenue, and where music and jazz and businesses and, we were thriving communities and sports and Crispus Attucks. Like you can go on and on about all this. Madam Walker Theater. There's so many gems here. I just will say I'm happy that I stuck it out. Because I felt like if I didn't stay, then how could I build anything here in this community? I think I'm a valuable asset here. There's a lot of people. If you keep jumping ship, then, you're never going to build anything. So Indianapolis has become a hub. I really think it's become a cultural art hub. And we have some dope artists. We have some beautiful, creative people here. And all of us as artists have put Indianapolis on the map. People are looking, people are paying attention. And if it takes something like All-Star or whatever, you can come here and watch any game. You can come here and celebrate sports. I mean, this is a sports state. That's just what it is. But not only are people enjoying the sports, they're finally able to enjoy art. And they can kind of see how it goes hand in hand. And so I'm really, really grateful for that and all the opportunities. So I don't even know what's going to happen in the next 6 months or the next year. And that's okay, because I feel like it's only up from here. So I'm so grateful for that. And I think I'm more excited about not knowing, because maybe it's something even better than I imagined.
Cool. So, just two last quick questions. Okay. First of all, what's one word of advice that you have for people who are getting into the arts, whether they're an artist or an art lover or even a future collector?
What's one word of advice?
Yeah.
Well, I would say it'd be different than someone that's like an art lover versus someone who's creating the art. I would say for the person who's creating the art, continue to be authentic. Just be authentic, and you'll sleep at night. And for the art lover, have a little respect for the time and the labor and the passion that went into something. Don't sit there and go back and forth about somebody why they price something the way they did. Just respect it. If it's something you don't want, move on. But I think that is the ultimate form of respect. When you see something beautiful, and that you have to also think about it. If this artist is making a living, and they've been able to create something visually for you, and let's just say something as simple as the number of what it costs for them to let it go. You have to think about, sometimes with artists, and I have this problem too, I'll have a piece and it's really hard to separate from that. So when you buy something of mine, I can't speak for other artists and how they do their final sale. I want it to go to a good home. I want it to go to someone that really will love it and appreciate it, because maybe I'll never see it again. And I want to make sure that it's going to be taken care of and it will be represented well. So when someone buys a piece of my art, I really want to remain in some type of communication or connection with that person, because my art is my babies, So I would just say, just respect the artist, and for artists to just continue to be authentic.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. This has been a wonderful discussion. Please tell people where they can connect with you and follow your journey and even support your art.
Sure. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm on all social under my brand name, Snob. It's spelled PSNOB. The P is silent. So I'm on IG and Twitter and, it's not Twitter anymore, X, YouTube, Facebook. You can just put in Snob, PSNOB. You can also go to my website. It's artistrebeccarobinson.com. Or you can also go to snob.com. It's going to link you to the same place. So, you can find me on there. I'm easy to find. I love to meet new followers and collectors, or just someone that just wants to learn a little bit more about my work. I check my messages all the time. Whether you're an artist or a collector, reach out. I think we should connect and build, a friendship. And you can come by my studio. If you're here in Indianapolis, I'm at the Harrison Center. Beautiful facility, so much art. We have First Fridays, and it's open studio for everyone. I'm here, and if you want to hang out, cool, just let me know.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Rebecca. This has been an amazing conversation. Please support Rebecca and check out the 18 and check out Indianapolis.
Yeah.
They have an amazing art community.
Yes, we do.
And we're signing out.
That's right. See you soon.